Illinois Realtors leadership and your member-led RPAC trustees wish to thank all our members who invested in RPAC in 2020. With your support, our state association surpassed its goals and earned the National Association of Realtors President's Cup for the 4th year in a row. In addition, 107 members became new major investors. 16 Illinois Realtors were inducted into the RPAC Hall of Fame with an aggregate lifetime investment of $25,000, and 2 members, Gene Crosby and Chris Reed, reached the $50,000 lifetime RPAC investment milestone. Illinois Realtors also congratulates these local associations which met or exceeded their fundraising and participation goals in 2020, earning them the National Association of Realtors President's Cup and Triple Crown Awards. Congratulations on your outstanding achievement, and thank you for supporting RPAC. And last but not least, we want to congratulate the Main Street Organization of Realtors for ranking first in the nation for RPAC participation among boards of its size, achieving 62% participation. Main Street was also 5th in the nation on highest dollar amount raised by a local association. Illinois Realtors applauds Main Street Organization of Realtors for its excellent accomplishments. Your efforts truly made a difference. We are extremely proud of all of our RPAC investors. You helped RPAC elect quality candidates and inform our government leaders at the local, state, and federal levels whose decisions have a far-reaching impact on realtors. Thank you to all of our RPAC major investors. Find a full list of names at the end of this program.
Hello, I am Kinga Korpacz, Chair of the Realtor Political Involvement Committee, and I'm excited to welcome you to the 2021 Illinois Realtors RPAC Forum. 2020 was an interesting year to say at least, and I hope everyone and their families remain safe. With all the changes and adjustments that we all have to make, whether how we communicated, conducted our business, or even how our legislators govern, one thing that stayed consistent was the political involvement and influence realtors across the state had, and we sincerely thank you for all your involvement. During this 2-part forum, we hope to provide you a glimpse of some of the influence our advocacy has and effectiveness of our realtor political programs. With that being said, it is my honor to welcome Assistant Minority Leader Senator Jason Barickman and the Illinois Realtors immediate past president and state legislative contact, Neaves. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kinga, and thank you on behalf of the Realtor Political Involvement Committee for our interview here today with Senator Jason Barickman. And welcome, Senator. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
So, COVID-19, of course, we've had a year of that. Tell me how you and your family, Kristen and the kids, have coped with that.
You know, I think it's been a tough year for everyone. Certainly, we're included in that. Kristen and I, we have 3 kids, Augie, Wally, and Leah. 4th grade, 2nd grade, and a 3-year-old. And raising children through COVID, presents its own challenges. Our schools have been largely remote for the duration since, the first February or March orders of the governor. So that's presented some challenges. We're doing our best with that. I think there's lots of families around the state that I worry about, especially the kids. Kids, depending on their home life, the needs, the things that they get out of school are different. Of course, they get an education, but all the services that come out of our schools, especially for kids with a single parent or working parents, I think COVID's been tough on a lot of families. Good thing about all of us around the country really is, we persevere. So we're all trying to make the best of it. That's certainly the case with the Barickman family. Mm-hmm. It's given us an opportunity to spend more time together. We love being outside, even before COVID. And so we've taken a lot of opportunities to just be outside more. I love fishing. I got to fish more this year than I have in probably since college. Mm-hmm. Let my whiskers grow a bit. You and I have talked a few times over the past many months, and some of us let our beard grow. Anyway, try to make the best of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, My beard grows, but no place
Well,
else.
I wasn't going to say, but good luck with that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, living and breathing the education at home and all that, as you are, as a family, one of your priorities is education over at the Capitol. You want to expand on how that's helped you with your outlook on that?
Well, look, yeah, I mean, I grew up in Central Illinois. I went to a small rural, country school and country high school called Woodland outside of Streator. I think my school did the best job it could do to prepare all of its students. It's typical of some of our downstate rural schools. It's difficult because they lack funding. It's difficult to attract teachers. So when I came to the legislature, one of my priorities was really to focus on education. I became very involved. Back under the Rauner administration, we negotiated over about 5 years. We negotiated legislation that was eventually signed into law by Governor Rauner that rewrote the manner in which our state funds local school districts around the state. We've got around 850 school districts around the state, and we changed the way that the state's funding formula directs resources to schools and prioritizes those schools that are most in need. That was a great opportunity to really advocate on behalf of schools and the children that they teach. And I look at the role, the responsibility of government, and I think one of its priorities is that we provide a high quality of education for our kids, and so that's been a focus. And I also know that this ties to the job that you and realtors do. When realtors take a buyer around a community, one of the first questions everyone asks is, what's the quality of the schools? What school district am I going to be in? I think if we're going to attract middle-class families to Illinois, one of the things we have to do is make sure that their children have access to a high-quality education. So that's always been a priority of mine, and it'll remain a priority of mine because I know the importance of it.
Sure. And I would assume that you're getting fairly good bipartisan discussion on that topic.
We are. Everything that we do comes with some give and take, and I think that's an important part of the process. I mean, I never look at the people that sit across the aisle from me, whether they're members of the opposing party or they're just, a member that has a differing view. I don't treat any of those people as the enemy. I view them as people that, because of their life experiences, their perspectives, they just have a different view than I. And our job in government, in the legislature, is to really listen to the many views that exist on any issue. I always try to find common ground, and I try to advocate through persuasion and trying to convince the other side of the merits of my argument. At the end of the day, it requires compromise. Good government, good policies, they all require some give and take and some compromise. When we did that rewrite, that historic rewrite of the school's funding laws, that required a lot of give and take. It required years of negotiation. The end product, I always believe, is better because of the bipartisan nature of it.
Sure. And you've received bipartisan awards, I know. And I remember once that the Illinois Realtors were privileged to sponsor an event in Chicago that was actually in Ricketts' private suite at Wrigley Stadium. And Ricketts' daughter, who is, I believe, on the committee of the Democratic National Committee, honored you there for your bipartisanship work down here. So that's a testimonial right there.
Yeah, and I've been glad to get support. Whether it's the Ricketts family is a bipartisan family. Many of the Ricketts family members are Republicans. Their daughter Laura Ricketts is a very prominent Democrat, and I was glad, proud to earn her support through my efforts. Just like I am for other, again, whether they're Democrats or independents. I'm a Republican. I generate a considerable amount of Republican support, but I think what makes us whole as representatives of our districts is having a broad base of support that recognizes that while we might identify with one political party, that's a party identification. And you still have to look at individual issues, study them, and determine what the right answer is, regardless of your party ID.
And your law firm specializes in real estate law and business law. You are a member, or were a member of the Champaign Association of Realtors. I believe you were on the RPAC committee also, so that's kind of a good thing to be on.
It was a great perspective for me to learn kind of the grassroots component of the Realtors Association, right?
Yes.
To see it from that perspective before I was ever a lawmaker, I think really helped me value and respect the input local realtors make in helping determine not just which candidates are going to receive funding allocations, but really the decision-making process for how the Realtors Association adopts positions of support or opposition to various legislative proposals.
Sure. And as a champion of the real estate industry, RPAC has supported you and will continue to support you. So we're bipartisan. We're the Realtor Party. We're 50-50 Democrat Republicans. So over at the Capitol, you're operating virtually, you're operating remote. How's that working, and is that effective? And do you think that was something that we're going to keep on the agenda, remote voting, for example? Have you discussed that?
Yes, we've discussed it. Yes, I anticipate that it will continue in some fashion. I think the remote voting and access attempts to do the best that it can do, but I'm one who believes that there's a limitation, especially in this role. We're representatives of our districts. As an Illinois state senator, I represent about 215,000 people. I come here, I interact with members of the other party, I interact with lobbyists, I interact with the constituents that I represent. It's a very human and personally driven type of role, and I think there's a limit to what can be done on the remote access. So we're going to make the best of it. We're going to have some rules in place. I have some priorities in what those rules may look like. Some of those priorities are making sure that as a member of, if I'm a Republican, I'm in the minority party. The majority party sets the agenda. They say which committees are going to hear which bills. I want to make sure that as a minority party member, opponents to bills have opportunities to be heard in those committee hearings. And then even more so, I think our government is designed to be a government of the people. And if we move to this remote style of lawmaking, it suggests that the people just don't have a role in it, as if we can just sit in our basements, read a bill, and vote yes or no. The public very much has an important role in the legislative process. And I'm concerned, I guess, that if we're in this remote world for a long duration, that the expense, the price that is paid is excluding the public from the process. And I think that's very negative. The Realtors Association, every year you send hundreds, probably thousands of realtors come to the Capitol and they advocate for this bill and against this bill. They meet with lawmakers one-on-one. They bring their cheat sheets, and they talk about these bills. That is such an incredibly important part of the process, not just for realtors, but for all people who are paying attention to what's on the agenda, who have an opinion on it, and want to make sure that their opinion's being heard. We've got to make sure that even in a world that has COVID, we don't exclude the public from participating in that legislative process.
And speaking of leadership, you have been appointed as a Senate Republican as the floor leader and caucus chair just a couple days ago. Congratulations on that.
I just drew the short straw.
You did the short straw? So that's
twice, evidently.
So what new responsibilities does that give you in those positions?
Yeah, so we just went through a leadership change. Our caucus now is being led by Dan McConkey, who's a state senator from Hawthorne Hills area in the suburbs. He appointed a new leadership team. I'm on that, and I serve in these two roles. The two roles, first of all, caucus chair gives me a great opportunity to work with our caucus and really drive, the purpose of that role is to drive our agenda, to work with our members, and to try to advance our agenda. As Republicans, oftentimes we seem to be on defense, and a lot of times that's just the way it is. But we have our own ideas, we have our own agenda, and so as caucus chair, my charge is to help advance that agenda. And then as floor leader, this is a job that my colleague Dale Ryder served in for almost a decade. The floor leader is charged with carrying our message on the Senate floor. leading the debates on the various issues of the day. It requires some extra studying. You got to be well prepared. It's a debate in the Illinois Senate. And I'd say on both of these, I'm honored to have the opportunity. I'm going to work hard to do my best in these two new roles. Quite frankly, I'm excited about them.
Oh, good, very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What agenda items do you feel that the caucus has for 2021?
We're going to advance, I think, a very bold agenda in the 21 calendar year. It's going to start with really some initiatives that are designed to empower voters. We looked around the states. Our country, it's called a laboratory of democracy, where every state has its own laws and rules. Many states empower voters. They give them tools that enable them to have a voice in government that we don't have in Illinois. That's not a partisan issue. I think if voters are motivated to either recall corrupt politicians or to try to recall controversial legislation that might have been passed through a very late lame duck session, but it's controversial and the public doesn't agree with it, we want to give the public some tools that they can do something about it. Whenever I'm traveling the state, voters often ask me, what can I do to help effectuate change? We want to give voters tools. Some of the other things are policy related that I think get to the priorities of the state. I look at our state, I recognize we have a lot of people leaving our state. We have less people coming in. That's a problem when you're trying to buy and represent people who are buying and selling homes. I think we've got to address the fact that our property tax system is out of whack. I think we've got to address the fact that if we're going to attract middle-class families to Illinois, they're going to come here because they're going to get a job. We need to grow our economy. I think if we do that, people are going to look at Illinois as a destination. The other benefit, of course, if we grow the jobs that we need in our state, is by putting people to work. We're generating revenue. Those people who work, they earn money, they pay taxes, and those taxes help to solve the very significant budget problems that our state has. So we're going to put these agenda items in front of the public and ultimately in front of our colleagues in the Senate. We're going to try to advance them this spring.
Sure, great. As you're aware that our long-term CEO, Gary Clayton, has retired and Jeff Baker has taken that position. And Jeff, of course, has been here for 7 years in the legal department with Illinois Realtors. But one of Jeff's priorities coming in that he established was, in the past, we have responded to bad legislation. We have come over and talked to everybody over there. But one of Jeff's new key points is he wants us to introduce legislation instead of just, being on the defensive. And issues like housing issues, fair housing and affordability, those issues are coming forward. And Greg St. Aubin and Jimmy Clayton will be, or have been, talking to you guys about that. How's that relationship, and how do you see, first of all, the Greg St. Aubin and Jimmy Clayton and Jeff as our new CEO relationship look for working with you over in the Capitol?
I'm excited about it. I think for us as legislators, we need partners who are experts in their field. And we know that there are some voices in the state that are advocating for some significant changes to housing policies, whether that's things like the very controversial rent control measures that we've seen, whether it's discussions about affordable housing, as you mentioned. And I think these are good examples of areas where we can't continue to just sit back and be on defense. We need to put our own proposals out there. As a lawmaker, I'd love to work with the realtors on some of those. I think there's a sympathy to the realization that people need high-quality housing. The question is, how do we make sure that there's an adequate supply of that in the market? Some people want to put regulations in place and they want to control the market. I'm more of a free market-based person. I think that the government can do more on the other side to allow for those who create supply to create a supply of housing that fits with what the needs are. So those are really good debates that I anticipate that we're going to have. The fact that the Realtor Association wants to be a partner in that and wants to help with ideas and proposals, I think is fantastic. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think it's a great concept. So as we wrap on this one, I am your state legislative contact. I'm assigned, each realtor is assigned to a member of the legislature. And our job is to keep you informed on our issues, although you're pretty informed on the real estate issues, but to keep you informed and bring these other ideas to you. So how do you see the interaction with your peers over there and the realtors, what we can do to best communicate to you what's going on in our industry and give you the information that you need?
Well, the relationship with lawmakers, I think, is certainly a key component. And while you and I, we've known each other a long time, that's not always the case with the contact and the legislator. Forming those relationships when we're not in the middle of a heated battle on some controversial proposal, I think having those relationships in place goes a really long ways. So do that, right? Reach out to your local lawmaker, introduce yourself, make sure that there's an understanding of who you are and the perspective that you have, and ensuring that the lawmaker knows that you're a resource for them on various real estate issues that might be before them. The other is just that advocacy component. People show up in the Capitol and they ask things like, does it matter that I write to you, that I email to you, that I call to you, that I show up in the Capitol when you're able to? Of course that does. That is immeasurably important to vocalize support and opposition for certain measures. When legislators receive communications from the people that they represent, they read it, they return phone calls. Not all of them, I do, but I think by and large, legislators want to be reactive to the people that they represent. And so if people sit back and they just say, well, somebody else is going to take care of this, somebody else is going to, or the answer's already decided, I always push back on that. The answer's not decided until that final vote is cast. And the process between when legislation is discussed as an idea to when it's introduced as a bill, heard in committee, finally taken as a floor vote, that process is often very lengthy. It gives lots of opportunities for people to connect with their lawmakers, to advocate their position, to communicate, whether it be in person, telephone, I receive texts, I receive Facebook messages. The point is that you have to do those things, because if you don't, what it means is that someone else's views are going to be heard and yours aren't.
And like we do throughout the year at events back in the district, and we show up to a lot of events together, we go to all your events. I think that helps because it's always nice to have that connection 12 months out of the year, so then when we do come to the Capitol, it's not we're just coming asking for something, you know? We've already got that going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That goes back to that, get that relationship in place early, so that when it comes down to crunch time, you're not dealing with the formalities of, now who are you and what do you do? It's, I've already worked through all that. Just let's get to the nuts and bolts of what's the issue and why are you advocating for or against it. Those relationships, incredibly important.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have the event at the farm outside of Streeter. Ancona, what's the town?
Yeah, I grew up on a farm outside of Ancona, Illinois.
Ancona, yes.
Great. Every year until COVID, we've had this great big party. You and I believe Amanda have been out there. Attracts people from all over the state. Love to have you and some of your other Realtor members attend next year.
Oh, that's a great event. Senator Barickman, thank you so much. Again, congratulations on your appointments, and you got a lot of work to go over there, and we appreciate you taking the time. On behalf of the Realtor Political Involvement Committee, which is RPIC, which is what this is, we thank you so much. And so now I'll throw it back to Kinga. Thanks, Kinga. It's all yours.
Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you again to both Ed and Senator Barickman for taking time to be with us today. We hope you enjoyed today's program, and we are looking forward to part 2 of the RPIC Forum on January 26th, where we will hear from Illinois Realtors Manager of Advocacy Programs, Alex Finke, on advocacy effort and a look back into the 2020 election. Thank you again for participating, and we hope to see you soon.